back to my channel, Piece It Together. Life's been a little hectic, but here we are back again. Today I want to focus on the importance of collaboration in special education. We'll talk about home programming, we'll touch a little bit on special education in the schools, but most importantly, just how crucial it is to collaborate. If you work in special education, or even if you don't, you might be familiar with something called the IDEA, or the Individuals with Disabilities in Education Act. This act was passed to protect and enforce the rights of individuals with disabilities as far as education goes. And one piece of this act focused on the necessity and importance of making sure that a team working with an individual with a disability would be multidisciplinary. A simpler way to explain that is just that it's going to be a sizable team of all people in different areas of expertise. Very often, individuals with disabilities travel with a large team. It might be general ed teacher, special ed teacher, home therapists, behaviorists, speech therapists, physical therapists, feeding specialists. There is a whole plethora of expertise available. It really just depends on the needs of the child. Now, thinking about that size of a team, the only way that it's going to affect the child in a positive manner is if everybody is working together. Now, we might not all be working with the child at the same time, but that consulting and collaboration piece of our job is almost just as important as the therapy you are providing one-on-one. Each member of this team that we're talking of really plays a critical role in identifying and analyzing student needs and areas of strength, and kind of how to use those all together interchangeably to help the child develop to their greatest potential. Now, let's think about it from a school perspective. I have about 10 years of experience working in self-contained classrooms where you're working with a whole squad of people. A few of that I mentioned before, you have speech, you have physical therapists, you have occupational therapists, you have the school psychologist. You have all of these people who have these skill sets in their area. Now, a speech therapist, maybe they don't know all of the things or all the techniques you're using in ABA in your classroom. However, they're going to be able to share techniques with you that you were not trained to use. So it's really, really important to respect each other and just show a little humility. We all think we're super knowledgeable in our area, and hopefully we are. I take pride in how passionate I am about my job, but I also know I'm not an occupational therapist, and I'm not a physical therapist, and I'm not a speech therapist. I'm a special education teacher, and I am a BCBA. I did not go to school for physical therapy, so I'm not going to assume that I know better than the physical therapist. I might spend more concentrated time with a student or an adult, but it doesn't mean that I know better than the person who provides that specific service. And I know this might sound funny to some people, but I'm just being raw and honest because I've worked in different environments where it can be tough, and that collaboration piece does not happen as fluidly as it should. Each year or authorization period where you are rewriting an IEP or updating IEP goals or rewriting home programming goals, there is always a spot dedicated to consulting or collaboration where it lists off who you're going to be collaborating with, how often that's going to happen. This is not just there for fun. This is there so that that actually happens because it is in the best interest of the child. So as professionals, it's our job to make sure that that's happening and making sure that we're working together the best that we can to make learning and make skill building cohesive for our students and clients. As I'm talking about this, I'm thinking of a bunch of different examples where collaboration really helped me greatly in my classroom environment. I had a student who really did not like writing. 6-year-old student, extremely bright, but just displayed a lot of behaviors when anything fine motor was presented. Now, from my perspective, sometimes it seemed like it was coming from a non-compliance direction. But then when I sat down and asked the occupational therapist, how are his sessions going? Is he displaying any behaviors? And she said that their sessions went pretty fluidly. She was able to give me some little pieces of advice, wrapping silly putty around his pencil to make it more comfortable for him to hold. He bit his nails often, so I think his skin was pretty sensitive. So holding a pencil was painful for him. Now, without the collaboration, I may not have been able to help him in the same way. I may have worked around it in different ways, but because it's not my area of expertise, I didn't necessarily know that that was going to be something that would really help him. Or a speech therapist. I worked with a wonderful speech therapist for years, and she had a really awesome way of teaching students coping skills and different coping mechanisms and strategies that would really help them throughout the day with transitions. And when I found that that's what she was doing during her sessions, she actually coached me on how to do it in my classroom. And I found our transitions went much smoother because these were coping techniques that these students had learned in one environment, and now they were learning it in a different environment, and it could really be generalized. So I think with more and more experience, I've learned how important this coordination is. So next time somebody on your team asks you a question and you almost might take it like a personal attack, remember, it's about who you're working with and who you're working for and what the ultimate goals are. It's not a personal thing when somebody's asking you to justify or clarify something that you're doing. Remember, they might just want to learn so that they can keep things as consistent as possible for the child or for the client. No matter what your position is, if you are part of a multidisciplinary team, if you are a parent of a child or an individual with special needs, feel free to comment below. Talk about your challenges with collaboration. Talk about positive experiences you've had. Talk about why it's important to you. I'd love to hear from you, so feel free to share below. And if you'd like to hear more about collaboration, don't forget to like and subscribe.